All right, ladies and gentlemen, does everybody have their appearance slips turned in that wants to speak on a specific agenda item or public comment? Okay, now that we have a lot of people here in attendance today that want to speak, we're going to limit it to you for 3 minutes and no longer because we got too many to go through today. So I'm going to stop you after your 3 minutes, so I hope you can get everything said within the 3 minutes. All right, I call this Sawyer County Zoning Committee meeting to order. Kathy, can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Ron Buckholz.
Here.
Tweed Schuman.
Here.
Kay Wilson.
Here.
John Starolski.
Here.
Steve Carriennen.
Here.
Marshall Savitsky.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, number C, I need approval of the last zoning committee. Oh, no, sorry, I said that wrong. I need approval of the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries. All right, number D.
C.
I thought it was something wrong. That's okay, but we got the minutes down there, so, okay. All right. All right, number D, statement of committee and hearing procedure statement and hearing notice. The full statement of this committee and hearing procedure document, including directions for the individuals wishing to speak at a public hearing to be conducted at this zoning committee meeting, are available in the back of this room next to the agenda for today's meeting. The statement of committee and hearing procedure document is hereby incorporated into the record for this committee meeting. Any public hearing is conducted at today's committee meeting has been published as a Class 2 notice in accordance with Chapter 985 of the Wisconsin statutes and the Sawyer County Record and the Sawyer County Gazette as posted. Okay, number E, I need a motion to approve the July 19th minutes.
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Starolski and a second by Mr. Carriennen to approve July 19th minutes. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Number F, public comment. Please note comment time is intended for the general public. Each agenda item requiring public hearing will have its public hearing conducted just prior to the application being considered by this committee. If you wish to speak on that specific agenda item, we encourage you to hold your comments till then. Okay.
I have one public hearing slip for public comments, Linda Zomer.
State your name for the record, Linda, and you have 3 minutes.
Linda Zilmer, resident of the Village of Birchwood, Edgewater property owner. And I'm speaking generally to the zoning process this morning. At last night's county board meeting, a supervisor from the town of Draper made public comment as follow-up to seeking the cooperation between the county and the towns and overall, but also specifically to zoning. He was also the town board supervisor who made a presentation at the Sawyer County Wisconsin Towns Association unit meeting that was held in Sand Lake. At that meeting, he handed out and has, I believe, sent via email through the clerk of that unit information on the role of counties and towns in zoning, some sample ordinances. And in following up, as all towns or the towns that are concerned with how this relationship has been working and where it needs to be improved, I attended the Sand Lake Plan Commission and Town Board meetings. My comments about the process when that agenda item comes up will be about the process and has nothing to do with the applicant. But in general, this is an example of where insufficient information is being obtained from the applicant. Insufficient information is being sent to the towns. And you, as the zoning committee, also don't have full information in order to make an informed decision. In one area specifically, as the county has pared back on its cooperation with towns, it used to be that the county sent neighbors both a notification letter and an opinion letter. The town chairman, Bob Langham, was under the impression that that was still being done. So when he called the zoning office the day of their meeting, he was told that 14 letters were sent out and only one returned. And that gives that town the impression that there are not concerns. And so he's only just now realizing that the county no longer sends opinion letters. So all these factors weigh in on what the town decides and what you are considering when you make your independent decision as the zoning committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Any more public comment, Jay?
I have no hearing slips for additional public comments. Is there anyone else wishing to make general public comments at this point, either online or in the audience?
Sir? You wanted on public comment?
General
On
public
agenda
comment
items.
not related to agenda items. Correct. So if this is related to an agenda item, now would not be your time to speak. Anyone else for general public comment? All right, moving on. This is public hearing in the town of Round Lake, rezone number 24-011, owner Jason Turnbull to south one half of the southeast one quarter to the northwest one quarter, section 20, township 40 north, range 9 west, parcel 0109412024001. It is 20 total acres, zoned forestry 1. Purpose of the request is rezone from forestry 1 to agricultural 2 to have a hobby farm per section 17.5 parent A of the Sawyer County zoning ordinance. Per my staff report, again, the purpose is to rezone the entire 20 acres from forestry 1 to agricultural 1 to have a hobby farm. Any portion of the underlying shoreline wetland district is not subject to change as part of this request. With the additional attached maps in my packet, the applicant is requesting to rezone the property to A2 for hobby farming purposes. There are no exact details of the hobby farm operation at this point, but the applicant would need to meet the requirements of section 17.5 parent A, which would include but not limited to keeping of livestock not to exceed 15 animal units, where 1,000 pounds is one animal unit per 40 acres prorated. On this 20-acre property, subject to be rezoned to A2, that would equal 7.5 animal units or 7,500 pounds of livestock. According to the USDA, the average livestock weight of a beef cattle is approximately 1,250 pounds, which would limit the property owner to 6 beef cattle at any given time. The nearest agricultural zone property is immediately to the east of this property across Gord Road, and there's another hobby farming operation to the southeast, approximately 300 feet away. This request would not be viewed as spot zoning. The current surrounding land use is forestry, light residential, and light agricultural. Town of Hayward, as part of the comprehensive plan, shows this area as low density residential, or LDR. LDR intent is to identify areas suitable for future single-family residential housing. Within the LDR, it is limited to 1 residential dwelling on a minimum of 2 acres of land. Ultimately, this property is zoned forestry 1, which would require a minimum of 5 acres of land, which would also be the same zone area of a 5-acre minimum with the requested A2 zone district. The A2 would actually have a greater density requirement as to the future land use maps of LDR. There are no proposed lot splits at this time. Of the 20 acres, there currently is a single family dwelling unit on it. As by action of the town board, motion was approved. Ben Kurzweil, Andrea Whitworth, Carol Williams, Gary Inhofe, Brenda Detloff. Comments exceeds 5-acre minimum in line with town comp plan, provides healthy surrounding use for family life, signed Brinham Town Clerk. There were 4 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners. 0 were returned. That is all.
Okay, thank you, Jay. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on rezone number 24-011.
So moved, Chairman.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Wilson to go into public hearing on rezone number 24-011. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We are now in public hearing. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
No, you're not you yet. Want to step forward and talk to the committee, sir? Tell it, yeah, state your name, address, please.
Jason Turnbull, 10730 North Gord Road.
Is there anything you want to tell us about your application here that you want the committee to know?
Basically, I'm grandfather now, and if history repeats itself, my granddaughter's gonna want animals like my daughter did. And possibly a horse or raise a cow for the fair or something like that. We just want to be prepared. We can do it.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Schuman.
Mr. Turnbull, are you gonna be able to stay within that unit limit they have for you, 7 cows on that 20 acres? You're good with that?
Yep.
Great.
Right. Any more questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. Is anybody out there want to speak in favor of this rezone? You're done, sir. That's fine. Is there anyone out there who wants to speak in opposition to this rezone? Okay, if not, need a motion to come out of public hearing on rezone number 24-011.
So moved.
A second. Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Wilson. Who seconded it? Mr. Carrion. Okay, and a second by Mr. Carrion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action, the town of Hayward rezone number 24-011, owner Jason Turnbull. Legal description is previously read into record. Request is to rezone 20 acres of forestry 1 to agricultural 2 for hobby farming per section 17.5 parent A of the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix T.
Okay. Committee, I turn it over to you, Mr. Schuman.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve rezone 24-011. Findings of facts 1 through 14. Do you have anything in your staff report that we need to add to that, Jay? Okay, that's my motion.
All right, Mr. Sorolski.
I'd second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman, a second by Mr. Sorolski to approve the rezone number 24-011. Any more discussion? Roll call, Kathy, please.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
John Saralski.
Yes.
Kay Wilson. Tweed Schuman.
Yes.
Steve Carrianen.
Yes.
All in favor.
Okay. Motion carried.
This is a public hearing in the town of Sand Lake, conditional use permit number 24-015, owner Page Heath, part of government lot 1, part of lot 1 of CSM number 3535, accepting out CSM 23262, parcel number 026-939-175122. It is 1.05 total acres, zoned residential recreational 1. Permit is desired for a future tiki bar restaurant. Hours of operation 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Accommodating locals and tourists, seafood lunch specials and spirits. Bar and restaurant will respect all of the Lake Association rules and regulations per conditional use permit per Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 17.2, Parent B, Parent 3. As part of my staff report, again, the permit is desired for a future bar restaurant, which does fall under the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, for conditional use permit of Section 17.2, Parent B, Parent 3, for recreational service-oriented uses such as cocktail lounges and restaurants. The existing structures on this property have been removed, and all new structures associated with the commercial business use would need to meet the compliant setback locations of 75 feet from the ordinary high water mark, and all other setbacks per the RR1 zone district. At this time, there are no formal plans or dimensions for the bar restaurant use, but the plan would be to include said use with an additional living quarters for the owner or operator of the business. Vehicle traffic would enter off of Rendezvous Road. The applicant is currently in the process of buying the property located to the west of this subject parcel. This would then eliminate any easement road access issues for the bar restaurant. All parking would need to be entirely on the property or special approval from the town to allow town road parking further to the north. Applicant would still need to meet all impervious surface limitations, grading requirements, stormwater management plans if applicable, and Wisconsin DNR dock regulations, as this bar restaurant would also be open to boat traffic. As far as a list of potential conditional, or I'm sorry, a list of potential conditions, and this is something that we can further discuss during discussion action, but ones that I've identified, and one additional that I would like to add, if the applicant is agreeable to it, would be that the conditional use permit goes with the owner and not with the land. That if a new owner was to take over, if this conditional use permit was approved, that a new owner would also need to apply for conditional use permit to really solidify the conditions that this committee would put on. So I would add that as one of those potential conditions. That hours of operation be 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Sunday. That they would need to obtain a license requirement through DADCAP for the food service industry. That all lighting be at a minimum for safety aspects and be downward facing lighting. Again, this is another committee discussion with this, but potential fencing or screening requirements. When you start talking about, the potentials of a bar restaurant, it might be something where you would want to implement a condition that a 6 foot or 8 foot high fence be placed down the adjacent property lines, 75 feet back from the water. Again, something for the committee to decide, and that all other town, county, state, and federal laws are followed. As by action of the town board, motion was approved. Robert Langham, Town Chair, Michael Ruscio, Supervisor, George Shedby, Supervisor. With additional comments, promote and encourage more business in the town of Sand Lake. Ensure adequate entrance and exit to the business. Recognize the needs of the community. Signed, Elaine Nyberg, Town Clerk. There were 14 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners within 300 feet. 6 were returned, 4 with objections, 2 with no objections. Did the committee members have time to read through the numerous amounts of opinion letters that we received back?
Yes.
Did all committee members have an opportunity to do so? I'm seeing all head nods and verbal yeses. Therefore, those letters that were sent by the community members and those adjacent property owners are therefore incorporated into the record. That is all.
Okay, thank you, Jay. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 24-015. Motion. Motion by Mr. Schuman. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Mr. Sorolski to go into public hearing on CUP number 24-015. All right, we are now in public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. All right, Paige, you're up. You're up.
Okay.
Up to the podium, please.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I would like to address myself as Paige Heath, current address 7827 Janesville Avenue, Hayward, Wisconsin. I would like to present a brief biography about myself and my background under 3 minutes, I promise.
Yeah, you don't have, you can have as long as you want.
Oh, okay,
State
okay.
your
I won't
case.
hold anybody up. I have been a resident of the Northwoods my whole life. I have 2 wonderful daughters, Briley and Nora. Although I am so grateful to have ventured off into the real world, retaining knowledge to carry for years to come in the process, I still found my path has led me back home to my roots in the beautiful area of Stone Lake and Hayward. Among my endeavors, I attended UW La Crosse for business management and worked full-time in customer service from 2011 to 2015. I moved back home to be closer to family and future business propositions, still maintaining that strong work ethic and customer service to this day. My goal during this meeting is to provide clarification and address any questions or concerns regarding the legalities and regulations of this new adventure. Upon reading the disclosed responses to the conditional permit use, and after doing much research on the legalities that are necessary for the safety and zoning of everybody, I truly believe there's a solution for each and every stated concern. See, I've kind of mixed up here. Sorry about that.
Okay,
And as we go, I would be more than happy to address each one step by step. And if that answers one question, it may answer others, along with, again, adding to that fence. There is 2 existing fences on each side. I would be more than happy to elongate that all the way down to the parking area. And I did bring my neighbor personally over that I purchased the house from that cleared up that easement to add more parking for the 50 to 75 capacity limit for this establishment. So I'm sure there's going to be more questions as we go, and I'd be more than happy to answer them as we proceed. Does anyone have questions for me?
Anybody got any questions for the applicant?
I guess I do, Mrs. Heath. How do you access your property then? I'm looking at the map.
Sure.
It's after the intersection of 70-27?
Yeah, those
I mean,
highways get a
south of
little
it?
mixed up because one's 27, one's 2770s.
Right, I'm sorry.
Yes, so it's actually towards Stone Lake. It's on the left side going towards Stone Lake off Rendezvous. Yeah, Rendezvous Road.
Okay,
Yeah, they show Rendezvous cutting through it. It doesn't. There's a wetland complex along Highway 70 there. So Rendezvous comes off of 27 and then makes a kind of cul-de-sac loop up there where both the parcel 5130 and 5122 come off of that cul-de-sac to enter their property. So off of this way and then down. And right now, currently parcel 5122 has an easement over 5130 to gain access. And that's something that Ms. Heath can further clarify. Have you purchased that property then?
We are actually, I have sent in the paper, it's a land contract. And I do have Mr. McMullen here. We close on September 7th. He is here to advocate for that as well. So if you'd like to speak to him next to kind of get that issue out of the way, we can go step by step with that and make sure we answer your questions.
More questions?
I do.
Sure.
So thinking of a tiki bar, are you going to have outdoor music?
So in the future, I would want to accommodate all of the regulations of the lake. I know quiet time is at 6 with the heavy water sports ending at that time. It would not be all week long. I would only have, if anything, it would be a one-man guitar artist from 2 to 6 p.m. And it wouldn't be every single weekend. And through the winter hours as well, I would be limiting my hours. But per the music, I would make sure I abide by place any sound barriers such as soundproofing insulation, speakers face inward, quiet, and the name of the establishment would say it all. It'd be called Rendezvous, meaning a place you can come relax and enjoy. It's not a party bar at all. It's accommodating all of the Lake Association, along with my daughters who are going to be living next door to continue a safe and healthy, happy environment for them as well.
And outdoor music?
It would be indoor, outdoor. I could do one right on the patio, again, facing inward, and then one indoor, a little corner, a one-man band. I won't have heavy drum sets. It would be mostly solo artists, quiet reggae music. So it's like bringing paradise to the Northwoods. I know a lot of people leave in the winter times to go to see the saltwater and the beaches, and I kind of would like to bring that experience to the Northwoods while still enjoying the Northwoods.
I have an additional question. Was there any conversation with the town as far as parking on Rendezvous itself?
Well, that actually is in the making. I would have to ask for approval of that, and that is a little bit ongoing. I did make the meeting on Monday evening in the Stone Lake Township regarding the liquor license, which was approved. And because they did have an extra one from Maximilian's, it used to be the old recent strip club there. And then they mentioned that we would have to kind of go through a process with that. So that is still kind of in the making as well. So, and I believe that they're having another one coming up. And I think that was our focal point during that meeting was mostly the liquor license. So I think the approval of that parking in that cul-de-sac would be ongoing, so.
So that would, if it was approved, that would have to be put in the stipulation, right?
Right, and I guess it was a question that I just asked for, I guess, clarification. If all parking is gonna be entirely on the two parcels, or
Sure.
again, if the town does allow parking on Rendezvous, if they wanna say, yeah, we will allow town road parking on that small little strip. I don't know if that's necessarily something that zoning committee needs to put as a condition. I mean, it's a town road, so really it's a town decision at that point.
It's something I'd probably have to take up with them as well.
Mhm.
But again, purchasing that property next door is making more room for that parking to accommodate the capacity as well, which is only 50 to 75. So,
So what would that do to you if they don't approve it?
well, and then the beauty of it is that there's inlets on both ends. There'd be inlets, which I'm sure we'll talk about the stipulations of the dock. People can come in that way or the back way, so that would limit the congestion of anything for the cul-de-sac, which I see do have company vehicles go through there as well. And I truly believe that that would help maintain that road that is in pretty rough shape right now, or widen it. And we could even put no parking signs up there. I'd make sure to do my due diligence is putting privacy notices, do not enter. I even proposed to the neighbors, I could even pay for a gate to put during, because they're seasonal. I could put a gate during the winter hours, have it closed and locked. And again, elongating both of those, both of those fences that are existing and just making them longer and where people can actually park and know where to park.
Okay.
So.
Mr. Sorolski.
My only question is the hours of operation from 10 o'clock AM to 8 PM?
Yes, sir.
Cutting it off at 8 o'clock would be,
7:45 last call.
Yeah.
Yes,
thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Any more questions for Paige?
Do you have any experience in restaurant and bar management?
I do 20 years, actually. I had it on here. I probably have to open this again. I had a little biography on that as well. Sorry, my apologies. Okay. It says, in the 20 years of my customer service experience, I can only be so grateful to have learned the knowledge of what it would be to run a well-monitored and safe business for not only the customers and patrons of this future endeavor, but this is just as important, my staff, a safe environment for them, and providing a positive work atmosphere will only benefit the expectations I would have as a sole owner for my hardworking and trustworthy staff to provide these patrons for this business. So yes, I've been doing it for many, many years. I actually do a mobile bartending business as well. I do private weddings, divorces. I do everything from birthdays. And so my customer service is a wide horizon there. And I find it's been pretty important to me because I found solace in getting to know everybody in this community. I did lose my mother in 21, so getting out there and venturing more has made me realize that I want to kind of give back to the people that have been there for me all these years. And again, accommodate, good food, cocktails, mocktails. There's a business in town that's actually doing non-alcoholic drinks advertisement that I'd like to do, and keep this rendezvous as a rendezvous, not a rager. It'd be accommodating. Again, on the Lake Association, I had time as a business entrepreneur, which I kind of examined the lake, owning it for 5 years. And what they would like, what they're, to pretty much how they enjoy the Northwoods, I'd like to add a little bit of paradise to it. I know I kind of repeated myself, but just to simplify that, I made sure that I got to know many of them on the lake, and the support has been astronomical.
Any more questions?
You plan to be a year-round business?
My hours would limit in the winter time. They would be down to 3 to 4 days a week. Yes.
Schuman.
Yeah, Mrs. Heath, would your property then have access by ATV or
Yeah.
side-by-sides? I know that's been a big issue and
Sure. And that's actually a good question I have, because I would want to accommodate a safe crossing for any pedestrians or anything. And I think that they have that inlet right there on the passing zone from the trail to DJ's Mart right there. If they would want to do that, say snowmobile, ATV, any sort of recreation in any sort of months, we would have to make sure with zoning that all of those legalities are put in place as well. And I'm more than happy to abide by that and see what we can do for safety reasons and everything. And also to keep maintaining that corner. It is the busiest corner, one of the busiest corners in Sawyer County, and they have all those businesses advertised right there. And just to keep the upkeep of that corner where people come in and out was something I would love to contribute to as well.
Oh, ATV and UTV wouldn't come before this.
No, and I was gonna say that too. I know there is a trail crossing, yeah, just north of that intersection, kind of up here, and that is to gain access over to the fuel station. That's
Yeah.
again further to the north. And I'm assuming you would probably need DOT approval, town approval, to kind of get further south. It's not far away from there, but
Sure.
there'd be
And
other
it actually
approvals.
is one of my questions as well. I knew that they enforced the law, what was several years ago, that you can go a certain amount of miles to your destination. I know this is probably only 100 or 200 feet, but I want to make sure I abide by that as well, by if you can go from point A to point B legally without, and even with having those in place for the DOT, that would be great, just to have proper barriers.
That would probably be something you'd want to talk over with the highway commissioner.
Sure, okay, yep,
I
yep.
believe he could point you in the right direction.
Great, yep, and that's great, because I need direction on that as well, that'd be,
Yeah, he'd be able to help.
okay, okay, great.
All right. Any more questions? Jay, you got anybody that wants to speak?
I do. I have a lot. I did kind of break them up from
Okay.
those that are in support versus those in opposition. For the first one I have in support, Cindy Lou and Scott Crosby.
Paige,
Oh,
thank
sorry.
you.
We may have additional questions, so don't
You
go
have,
far.
you can come back if you need to.
Okay.
We will let you. Yep.
We are supported to purchase. Oh, okay, sorry. Corey Vatland.
Okay, now this is for support. Okay. State your name, address, and you have 3 minutes,
You're
sir.
right.
Corey Botland, 5871 Wardman Lane at Stone Lake. I am in support of a bar on the lake. I think it would be great for the community, support our local businesses. We have bars in town. Why can't we have one on the lake? That's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Next for in support, I have Brian Posh.
Brian Polk, thank you.
Polk.
And 5809 North Mudders Road in Stone Lake, Wisconsin, on Sand Lake. I don't even know this gal, but I have been on Sand Lake for the last 10 years. And we've always wished that we could have something like Whitefish has, where we get to go take our pontoon over there and then go to Andy's place where we can actually pull up with the boat. I honestly don't know why anybody in their right mind would want to go into the restaurant bar business, because I think when everybody's having fun around you, you're working your butt off. So I really respect her very much for what she's doing. I also think that the more we have options available up here, I don't think we would ever really see a crazy time where we would need 50 to 75 cars parked there, especially if we have some dock space to pull up to or drive our snowmobiles over there on the lake. I have noticed that in regards to music, if we could get the county to step in and quiet down some of the boats on the lake, I don't think she's ever going to make as much noise as some of the wave boats and also the loud music boats. I've seen the music at the wine store, and it's always very respectable, and it's very quiet, and it's very entertaining. And they make it so we can actually have conversations with people when we're there being entertained. So I think this is a great option for the lake people. I think Sawyer County and Hayward has great rules and laws set in place that if she does start doing something wrong, she's going to be notified and called to task on it. So we're looking for a little paradise in Sand Lake, and I'm really glad the strip club is gone now, and we could have something decent like this. So that's basically all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Next I have is Dewey Vatlands. Ledoux.
Dewey Botland, 5871 Waterman Lane, Stone Lake. I've been up here I just figured it out, 30 years. And we always thought it would be fun to have a place to stop on the lake, have a hamburger or something. And you remember, what's the name of before the strip bar? You know, I was excited about that. That didn't last. And now I'm excited about this, and I think we ought to approve it, and I'm for it. And I think it'd be a good addition. And I've known her a little bit, not much, but she's, seems really responsible. So anyway, I approve it, and I hope we get it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next I have is Brad Teege.
Yeah, I didn't want to speak, but I am worth the help.
And the comments adds value to the lake. Next I have, PJ Flynn. I do not wish to speak. I support the conditional use permit for a bar restaurant. We have lost many over the recent years and need new options on our lakes. Would you like to add anything additional, PJ? Okay. Next I have, it's a Betsy Schneider, not wishing to speak. I support the addition of a bar restaurant on Sand Lake. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Betsy?
Paige is doing a fabulous job altogether. And I support Mark.
Thank you. That's who I have for public hearing slips that were in support. Are there anyone else wanting to make public
Are you in
comments in
support?
support of the request?
Okay, go ahead, state your name.
Hi, my name is Lee McMullen. I have the property next door to the one in question here. And yes, I've agreed to sell the property to Paige. But I wanted to speak on behalf of her personality and who she is. I bought this place 3 years ago, and I've met Paige, and being my neighbor, she's a very kind person. She's very well respected and liked. Everybody I asked, doing research on her, that everybody seemed to know her and had good things to say about her. But mostly I want to say for people that might be concerned is that she takes concerns to heart, and she will listen to you. And her goal is always to please and to keep everyone happy. And she does a great job of that. In regards to a place going up on the lake, I've heard people concerned about noise. We do live in a busy area where there's a lot of traffic coming up from Highway 70 and also 27. Trucks taking off from stop signs. And so, you know, you have that noise. Personally, I'd rather hear music than traffic. But I think even once music starts, people that live around there, you kind of get accustomed to it, and you just don't, after a while, you don't even hear it anymore unless you're consciously trying to hear it. So in regards to the property I have that Paige will be buying, that's where the easement is onto her property. There is no access from Highway 27 right now. That must be some old information that you have, because that's blocked off. So you can only access from Highway 70. So I am in favor of this just because I think that lakes are meant to have some fun opportunities for people, and it'd be nice to keep people on the lake and having a restaurant and a place to just relax, to go to. Also, I think that that kind of a business, there's nothing like it on the lake right now. And I think that in my 3 years that I've been on Sand Lake, I've always thought it would be nice to have something. Didn't dream it'd be right next door, but Paige and I had agreed to sell my property before this whole thing even came up. So that was just because I respect her as a business person, and I know she'll follow through on her promises. So that's all I had to say.
Sir, I have one question. Are you the property on the east or west side of the
I'm on
proposed?
the east side.
On the east side.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the west side. Thank you.
Got it.
I'm on the
Okay.
west side.
All right, thank you.
There is one for sale on the east side as well. But I was thinking she's east of me.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right.
Anyone else in support of the proposed conditional use permit?
Yes, sir. State your name, address, please.
My name is Dale Newman. I live at 5745 North Mudders Road. I'm in support of this. We've been on the lake for 12 years now, and it's a wonderful lake. The only thing that's been missing is to have access to a restaurant or bar from the lakeside. And I look at this as really a positive thing. It's the one thing I've always thought has been missing on the lake. So I look at this as a positive thing. I don't think people will feel a big impact by having this here. I don't think it's going to change things much for the most part. So I don't see any problem with it myself. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else in support?
Second.
Well, my name is John Rickert. I'm at 5893 North Runsell Road on the east side of Sand Lake. I just want to say I've known Paige for 3 or 4 years now. And if you're looking at someone with the entrepreneurial spirit, we want to support that in our community. This woman is a go-getter, and she's, as you can tell, she's very involved in the process. Not an easy process navigating the systems you have here. So you got to really give it to her for that. And I support the idea of having food and entertainment and an establishment on our lake. It's something that I think most owners on the lake would agree with that. And as a musician who's doing solo acts now, I would only ask that I could play at Paige's joint and ride my pontoon to the gig. So that's my input. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else want to speak in favor? JJ, opposition?
Yep. Those wishing to speak in opposition, first I have Cindy Lou and Scott Crosby.
We're the Crosbys. We live currently in Shell Lake. We just sold a week ago our beautiful 3-season cabin on Fish Lake because we thought we were going to buy a beautiful 4-season home for our retirement on Sand Lake. We're supposed to close at 10 o'clock this morning. At midnight last night, our realtor received an email from Paige, I believe, if I'm correct, stating that this bar and restaurant was going to be built next door to our property. This is the first we have had knowledge of this. We learned this at 6 o'clock this morning. If this is approved, we will not be buying that property. We may lose some money. We don't know. I don't think it's fair that we lose money. We were not told this was going to happen.
I would just also add the property that we were planning on buying, if you look at the map there, is right next to.
Adjacent.
Right next to the proposed bar.
Yeah.
Obviously would bring in a lot of traffic, would bring a lot of noise in, bright lights, typical bar, sort of, concerns. We would not, there is no way we would live next to something like that.
No.
And, also I would like to add that, I think there's a strip club that was open that,
It's not closed.
it's closed now, but just wondering why, if that was considered, as a potential. I mean, that's a great location for something like this because it's not near any residential properties. So just going to throw that in. I don't know.
We are severely disappointed that we were not notified of this until 6 o'clock this morning when we were supposed to close at 10 o'clock today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, I have a Carleen Hart. I do not wish to speak, but concerned with increased traffic and noise. We already have a bar supper club on 27 that is not utilized to better serve our community. That property would be a more viable place for a tiki bar restaurant. Anything else you'd like to add, Carleen? Next I do not wish to speak, but registering my comments, I'm concerned about this is Buck and Manya buying Bierneiner. Sorry, I'm butchering that. I'm concerned about the insurance and liability for injuries, accidents, etc. on our adjoining property. Anything else you'd like to add?
So it's Buck and Monica Bernier, so do you have anything else on that?
No, just concerned about the liability if something happens, so that access goes on and do is our property too.
And especially if it's gonna be also open in the wintertime, we're not there for a three-season cabin. You know, the liability of somebody inebriated might wander over, so what does that mean, you know, so who's,
Okay.
so concerns on the property, absolutely, among other things.
Okay. Next I have a Dale Newman.
I spoke, I was in support.
Oh, okay, sorry. Next I have a Jeannie Plum.
Jeannie Plum. I reside or I own property at 1609 West Rendezvous Road, just to the west of Lee and 2 doors down from the where Paige is wanting to put this tiki bar restaurant. We currently have 7 condo units in that location, all seasonal. And we are very concerned with bringing the amount of traffic that's going to come down Rendezvous Road. Currently serves 3 driveways, ours, Lee's, and Page. And having the amount of traffic coming in there is a big concern, not to mention the amount of people right next to our property who, you know, you say bar, restaurant, well, there, you know, alcohol involved, but the liability that our association is going to endure if anything should happen, you know, somebody coming on our property and getting hurt on our property and we get sued, you know, we definitely have concerns there. The noise, obviously, we know of all the noise that happens at that intersection. It's a busy intersection. We don't want additional noise, you know. We like our little slice of heavens, you know, on the lake too. And yeah, as a property owner, I would love to go over and drive and go up to a bar on a restaurant on my pontoon. If that bar restaurant was servicing just the lake, that's one thing. But when it's servicing anybody and everybody, what kind of crowd is it going to draw? Is it going to draw just the lake? That's one thing. If it's going to draw, you know, a whole bunch of other people in there, now you're bringing all these other strangers into our neighborhood who don't have the stake in the lake that we do and respect that we have of our fellow, you know, neighbors and stuff. The seating capacity. I think the seating capacity needs to be limited. I don't think 50 to 75 seating capacity. I think that's too large. I think you're opening up a lot more issues and concerns for us, the more people you allow to come into that location. And the lights, obviously, we all live on the lake. We all like to have lights off at night. We like to see the stars. You know, I can tell you right now, we can hear everybody talking in the neighbors when they're out at night. So now, as long as this bar is not open past 8 o'clock, I want to make sure, well, I would like to request that it's not open past 8 o'clock so that the people who can enjoy the lake can still enjoy the lake. You know, we have a vested interest here and we're concerned that, you know, our liability, we got people, the driveway is literally right next door. I mean, it's within feet of each other, you know, so who's to stop somebody from walking into the wrong driveway, coming up our driveway? You know, we've got property all over the place. We've got boats stored there with all our fishing equipment and stuff. We're just very concerned of having this much public
Time's
coming
up,
to that
ma'am.
location.
Finish her up, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next I have Linda Zomer.
Linda Zilmer, Edgewater property owner, resident of Village of Birchwood, and who also attended the Sand Lake Plan Commission town board meetings. There was discussion about the liquor license, and the liquor license was not an item for action, and it was not approved on that night. It was a discussion matter because the town clerk brought up the fact that the owner of the Maximilian property has made a payment to the town to renew its liquor license. So I think that is up in the air. And the other comment that the town clerk, Elaine Nyberg, made was that it has been the tradition of the town board's previous actions to try to keep liquor licenses with the properties. That Maximilian location is for sale, so I'm sure it's worth far less if that liquor license is then applied somewhere else, and there could be a potential lawsuit. I've heard a lot of other misinformation tonight or this morning. And so what I'd like to say is that neither the Plan Commission nor the town board considered their comprehensive plan. This is not consistent with their plan. And as you've heard from the most immediate neighbors, this does in fact impact them because of it being a residential neighborhood. The issue of that I identified that is probably of most concern in my email to you has to do with the high-strength septic system that would need to be installed there because all bars and restaurants need to have a different system than a pout system. And I think generally, I think what today's testimony and the town's testimony show that there is just kind of a great idea and a passionate person, but no plan. There is no site plan to locate the building. There's no site plan to locate the parking. There is no site plan for anything else. And it's not clear that the fence can be extended, within Lakeshore to what is being guessed at. There are no concrete plans. The discussion at the town level about the parking on the town road is that, well, maybe then the town would have to widen it. It's narrow. That would impact emergency services getting in there. And then there was also talking about maybe having to fill some wetland areas and that possibly a DNR permit would be required. The town did not have sufficient information. You don't have sufficient information. The liquor license is a huge question. And I understand a series of events. The reason that the Maximilian license is being considered is because that is the only licenses left. The previous vacant license was sold to the town of Edgewater for $10,000. There's just so many things that can go wrong with this. When I go to Sand Lake, I pass 2 bars that are for sale. The Black Bear and the Hideaway doesn't seem to be operating. Stone Lake Pub is operating. Yeah, thank you. But Maximilian is available. Thank you.
That is all I have for public hearing slips. Is there anyone else in opposition of the proposed conditional use permit?
I just have to request that all those people who were in favor, some were, their addresses were not read and they did not indicate their distance from the property. So as you consider that, please consider if they're impacted or not.
Such as
Who wants to speak? Are you in opposition? Okay, state your name.
You can step up to the mic.
Step up to the mic, ma'am.
Yeah, my name is Deborah Wild, and I own cabin number 7 of the Beacon condo right next door to where Paige's home's going to be. And I don't know you, Paige. You seem like a really nice person, but I can't move on beyond the fact that I don't know how many have actually seen Rendezvous Road, but it's like a driveway, literally. And I would like to know specifically how they're going to enlarge it and how that in itself would impact us. Because right now we've grown trees over the last 25 years. I've been there 25 years. We finally are getting some relief from the noise across the street, the fireworks and all of that. And do they have to cut into our property? I don't know. I mean, I need to know all of these things. I don't want any surprises. Everything that's been brought up, I concur with. I don't think that it would be very, very unusual if somebody didn't move from the restaurant over to our property at some point, just walking or swimming or boating. How many boats are going to be able to be there? We already have seven slips where we are for our pontoons. What if we're out on the lake and somebody decides, oh, we can park there? People don't know all the details. That's just the way it is. And yeah, if I lived on the other side of the lake, I would think, oh, this is a great idea, but I don't. Next door, this is our neighborhood, and I am opposed. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, anyone else out there want to speak in opposition? Go ahead, ma'am. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Vera Lindell. I live at 6310 North Old 27 Road, Stone Lake. We have owned our property there for 26 years. My husband is a Stone Lake kid, so I'm actually across the road. I own the property under the power line, 10 acres. The traffic at that corner is horrendous, 27 and 70. I can barely get out anymore because you can't see coming around that corner. I don't know what the speed limit is. Everybody exceeds it. Everybody is just going so fast. I can barely get into Stone Lake. So I'm having to go a mile or two on Old 27 to even get out onto 27. And part of that traffic is a lot of boats. You just really cannot see coming around that corner. A lot of cars are now going through the car wash to avoid the stop sign, which brings them right out across the Rendezvous Road, which is a very short little road. I just see that being a nightmare traffic-wise. The other thing is, I own the property that the snowmobile trail runs on. It is not a four-wheel trail. It will never be a four-wheel trail. And I will close it off if I have to keep the four-wheelers from crossing there. It's not safe. They do cross over to the gas station on that corner, and it's scary. The cars come so fast. So I don't know Paige. And I think she's probably got a wonderful business plan, but I don't think it can be on that little corner. It's too busy. And I'd like a little of paradise too, but I don't think it can be there. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, anyone else want to speak in opposition? Go ahead, sir, state your name and address.
I'm Ron Foreman. I own the property at 16109 Rendezvous Road, one of the condo units. And I agree with everything everybody else has said. I wanted to reiterate a couple things, the general comments. We weren't informed, or I didn't know anything about the town board meeting to attend it. Information wasn't provided. The information we got about the request is surely lacking the details that was brought up. Now, specific to this, again, that's a narrow road going downhill right off of County 70. And cars zooming off 70, are going to just zoom down that. They're going to be going at a high rate of speed, not a slow speed. They're going to come down that hill, you come out of there, and a good chance of an accident from the speed coming down the hill and us trying to exit our property. Like I said, we put trees there to limit the noise, and it's going to limit visibility, obviously. I don't know if we have to cut down our trees or what to be safe. And then also, I almost purchased a property, another one. We found out there was a bar next door, and I asked people that lived there if there had been any problems. They said, oh, only one fight in 5 years or something like that. That's one too many. We took it off our list. I don't want a bar next to my property. And like Paige, I bought this, and I'm happy that I was able to have it, and I'm happy that I can pass it on to my grandkids and grandkids. I just don't see that as a business intersection. And also comments on the boat. You can have 3 docks. Yeah, well, how many people on the lake? All these people want a boat there. There's not room for that. I've been to a lot of other restaurants on the lakes, and boat traffic, they're full of boats. You're looking for places to park. And oftentimes they have problems parking on the private docks next door. So as much as I'd say if this wasn't next to me, I'd love to have it. I agree with all the people that testified in favor of it, but I'm guessing none of them would want that next to their property, affecting their property and their access and the noise. And I shouldn't forget the dust. Gravel road kicks up dust. All those cars going back and forth, we're going to increase the dust coming onto our property and affecting everything. So I guess that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you, sir. All right, anyone else out there want to speak in opposition? State your name and address. Where these all come from.
Hey, Marcia Simmons.
Late.
We have a cottage at 13161 State Road 70. We are right at the head of Rendezvous Road. Part of our property is on Rendezvous Road. We were not notified of what was going to happen. I found out this information through our vice president of the association. I am concerned about the traffic. The other day I tried to get out of our driveway. I had to wait for 9 cars going down 70 before I could even pull out. What kind of traffic am I going to have going down Rendezvous Road? Are you going to ease part of my property for a widening of the road? I am just concerned. This is not what we bought into. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Right, next.
I agree with a lot of what's being said here, but.
What's your name and
Rendezvous Road
address?
Is really the big problem, huh?
Name and address.
Oh, Robert Wild. I live at 16109 Rendezvous Road.
Thank you.
So yes, there are 7 families that live there. And we've been there for 25 years. I've been there for 25 years. We bought it from Tom Cott. And when we moved in, yes, there was a car wash, 4 a.m, people washing their car. You have your windows open, you'd hear it. We've spent 25 years putting a wall of trees up between us and the gas station and that. And it's, we don't know what's going to happen now. I can tell you right now, just from an engineering standpoint, anybody coming off 70 is a why. And if anybody been down there to look at this that's making decisions, it's a why. And when you come off of 70, if you've got a destination on the end of Rendezvous Road, you could be coming off there at 50 miles an hour, down a hill, along a tree line, where our driveway and then the driveway to the next door to us, which I believe you might be buying, I don't know, it's what I've heard, is right there. And there is going to be accidents. And trying to get, if there's a lot of, I think right now, you barely could get 2 cars down Rendezvous Road. And it's in poor condition. And I don't know what the program is for getting that upgraded. But it's not going to, I don't think that whole situation is poor. The other thing is when we moved in, we had to do some work to keep snowmobilers from coming off around the gas station, across the road, and especially in the winter when we weren't there, and using our property as a way to get down to the lake. Because our property is like a hill, and there's very few places along that North Hill that you could take a snowmobile down. So, and ATVs, I own an ATV. I have to trailer it out of there because there are no ATV trails that are legal. You can't take one on 70 and you can't take one on 27. You might be able to cross one, but that would be across the way. It isn't going to be through our swamp in front or the DNR land that's in front of us. Or they'd have to come all the way around, go through the gas station, go around the, between the firework place and that, and then somehow add more traffic to Rendezvous Road. So if anybody really wants to take a serious look at Rendezvous Road and the way it's structured, you'll see it's going to be very tough unless you could get traffic off 27.
Want to wrap it up, sir?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am. State your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Karen Fisher. I live at 6050 N West Shore Lake, Sand Lake. I do live on Sand Lake. I am the vice president of the Lake Shore Association, and I'm here this morning because we were not notified at all that this was occurring or that there was even discussion about any of this. And I'm not either for or against, but have concerns that this has gotten this far without anyone notifying the president or any of us on the board this was going on. The way I found out was somebody who is living on the lake sent me an email. So I think there needs to be a lot more discussion on this. I think there's many questions that need to be answered before any kind of decision that can be made for our lake. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else out there want to speak in opposition? Paige, do you want to rebut on any of that was said If you do, come up to the mic. We will allow that for you to do that.
Sure. I'm gonna try my best.
Okay.
Oh, here. Page Heath, 7827, do I state that again? 7827 Janesville Avenue, Hayward, Wisconsin, 54843. I'm trying, I know they're kind of all over the place, but I wanted to address the issue on the Rendezvous Road. I would apply proper speed bumps. I used to work at Trails End Resort for 7 years. There's speed bumps that you can put on there. Again, moving forward, I see a lot of people didn't have a lot of knowledge about this, so I'm more than happy if we need to take time in dissecting this. And I heard there was a possible another inlet. I don't know, again, what legalities that would put in, like another burden for you guys. Regarding the lake, I would put the necessary amount of buoys out for no wake zone. I would supply private property signs, private dock, no wake. And preserving the shoreline, the dock will go out 120 feet. And I believe I would be granted 2 or 3 slips. People couldn't reach the shoreline if they tried, even with sea legs, which are aftermarket put on pontoons. So that would be protecting the shoreline itself. And I don't plan on doing any significant, just, wildlife flowers on the shoreline itself. And preserving the lake is the most important as well for me, because all of my tableware would be biodegradable, straws, edible, down to even the cleaning products. So, and I understand that, again, this lake is it's not a private lake, but it is, more conservative lake. And that's why I would be accommodating what I have to offer. I apologize. I'm trying to do this and I was trying to write down what responses to other. I do believe if this does go through, that this would eventually be grandfathered in and people would learn to love it. And there's, let's see, what's that? And again, back to the value of the properties. I not only still I'm going to exhaust myself with telling and expressing how much I will make sure that private property signs are put up. Everything down to the dumpster will be surrounded by a steel barrier with a lock on it, so we don't get those mischievous critters that will come in and, eat what's left. And so, yeah, I guess I'm learning myself. I love hearing the feedback. I would love to find a solution to each of those problems and issues and accommodate this lake association along with the community itself. And like they all said, it is a busy intersection. It's one of the most busiest intersections that have the advertisements listed on it. What better way to have an establishment on that as well? And most of those businesses I would like to support. And whether they come in for a cocktail and talk about it, and this is just, I think this is great for the community. I know I'm trying to, insurance, there's dram shop insurance for, again, liability of the existing residents, and for what I would do to make sure that the association next door, I believe they're only seasonal, what would be protected, security cameras, the utmost sound barriers and everything pertaining to Rendezvous. And dram shop insurance, again, there's 2 versions, that and liquor license insurance. So that would be something I'm definitely investigating for them and would give them more knowledge upon as myself. Let's see. And again, back to the establishments, I have done plenty of homework. I was lucky enough to have my mother as one of the most successful realtors in Hayward, Wisconsin. And I gained all my knowledge through her on what the structures are. All of those structures I looked at, and I would have to, that would be another process starting from ground zero. I would have to tear down the parking other than Maximilian's is limited, and that Maximilian's would cause a liability for people crossing the street if I did do a dock. That would be a bigger issue than it would be on Rendezvous. And I did take all the proper precautions when I did burn down and donate this to the fire department. The asbestos removal, making sure all surroundings were clear, and the Stone Lake Fire Department did a wonderful job. So that was a good example of my reach for proper safety and everything around me for my neighbors and the Lake Association, the community. I think that I tried to write down what everybody was saying and find an answer, but I kind of have it all over the place. I'm sorry. Yep, and I do believe there's a lot of amenities on that corner for a reason. It's a corner where people come from the inlet outlet, other than the other corner of 63 and 27. So it is, noticed as one of the busiest corners, but I think that it already is patrolled wonderfully from the law enforcement department. They are there quite frequently, making sure everything is overseen. Again, I think this would inhibit the proper use of the corner for keeping it well maintained. They said the drive is already rough. I think that this would only progress that to be much cleaner, safer, and trying to think of the other word. There's a lot of words I want to use, but so I just wanted to state those facts about, I definitely looked into the other establishments, but it would not, again, with parking and other legalities in the structural foundations, it would not be feasible within my budget, so.
Mr. Schuman?
Yeah, Mrs. Heath, do you have a capacity on your facility? Did you mention? I thought you mentioned
I
that.
did, yeah, but it would be 50 to 75 people, and it sounds like a lot, but I mean, I would have indoor, outdoor seating.
Yeah.
And again, everything would be faced inward, and people could see out, towards the lake. Those sound barriers would be top of the line regarding soundproofing installation. Even the panels, the soundproofing panels I can put on the interior and exterior of the building. And maybe it would drown out the car wash that goes off at the other end of the other side of the street. So.
And does purchasing this land to the west of you, will that get you off Rendezvous Road sooner, or what will that do?
Well, it is all on Rendezvous. So
It's all on Rendezvous?
Yes, sir. So Mr. McMullen, his driveway and mine, actually, that is where that easement is. What they did was they kind of flip-flopped their property for that easement. So what I would do is buy that back and clear that whole thing up. I am buying that back to clear that whole issue up. So I think the original owners wanted their driveway off of the Mr. McMullen's instead of making their own, just for, I think, practical reasons. So it was just a simple easement that we decided that would be a great solution to the parking and accommodate that as well.
You talked about an option for an alternate access to your property.
Yes, I
You
actually.
know about that, Jay? Or is that feasible at all, or?
I actually had a question about that as well. That's new to me as well here. I didn't know that. And if that can accommodate the neighbors, I mean, the parking would be after it wouldn't be alongside them. It wouldn't be across that little road. And even with the 2770, I can't control people who speed. I mean, I can only continue to try to do my part on where I'm at to, meaning I'm talking about people that are not even associated with the establishment that I would like to put in place. I think it is highly patrolled, monitored very well. I know they can't be there full time, the law enforcement, but what I would do again would be considering I think there was a road that came off of that side road where the wetlands were, if I'm correct. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've not seen any evidence that your
Okay.
legal access is off of 70. From everything that I've seen, it's off of 27, off of Rendezvous, and across the property that's still currently owned by McWin LLC.
Sure.
And that easement then goes across McWin LLC's to gain access to Miss Heath's property. That's the legal access is when I looked at the certified survey maps. Now, if Miss Heath purchases McWin LLC, I mean, she could further include a portion of land into hers or change the easements. But again, the legal access that I've seen and all indicate it's off of Rendezvous, not off of Highway 70.
So tell me about the liquor license again.
Yes, I guess, so I'm when I was there, it's my first council meeting I've been to in years, so the positive feedback of that, I guess I must have misunderstood. All I heard was approval, so I still am not quite sure where we go from there. I think they were waiting on the response from Maximilian's. As far as my knowledge from that meeting, they said that it would be their decision on if they hold it or not. So, and they can give it to whoever they'd like that would like to, establish their own business in the same county or in the same town.
So if you were approved for this,
Yes.
you don't know if you'd have a liquor license yet.
Well, that's exactly why I'm here, because I wanted to take the proper precautions, but there is one available, and Eileen, can't remember her last name. She was one of the head of council there, and she said there is one available. And that was part of the gamble and kind of what I'm learning. And if it's the Class C malt beverage license that I would have to obtain. I could do wine and beer. I know Whistle Punk does that. They only have a very limited menu. I believe it's only four items. And they have, so realistically, the only one that is up and running, I believe, is the pub. I don't know if there's one other one, because then I think Birchwood goes a little bit further for Washburn County.
Yeah, and the town supervisors would probably know a little bit more about the liquor license, but there is that breakdown where, again, I don't know if you'd want to put that as part of a condition, because even if Paige was not able to obtain the Class C for malt beverages, I don't know if this committee would want to prohibit that she needs to obtain that in order to do this use. If she just wants to do beer and wine and still do a restaurant, we're still looking at a conditional use permit approval to do so. So I don't think that the aspects of beer and wine versus malt beverages as part of a liquor license that's issued by an individual township should really factor into this decision. It's something that she'll need to obtain in order to sell malt beverages.
Well, I agree with that, Jay. The reason I asked that, Miss Heath, is because I thought when you were up there the first time around that you said you had the liquor
Well,
license.
and that's why I think there was a little bit of contradiction with, can't say names, I can't remember, I apologize, but when I was there, I really wasn't led to where I was supposed to go next, because I wanted a little bit of direction as why we're here today. I mean, nothing's, I'm sure, is going to be set in stone with all the concerns and everything, but I believe that if I'm assuming Bob Langham is the head counsel there. And so we would probably be getting together to see what it would be to get that liquor license approved. So,
Yeah.
and when I left, my perspective was that it was approved. So I think,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really concerned about that. The reason I asked that is what you told us before.
sure,
but,
that makes sense.
I would believe that you wouldn't go through with all this if you don't think you're going to.
No, that was my first step, was to make sure I had that kind of, being transparent
where
about
it's
that.
gonna
So
go.
it's my apologies. Yes.
Okay, all right. Any more questions? Thank you, Paige.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. No more questions. I need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 24-015.
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Sorolski to come out of public hearing. Any more questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action for the town of Sand Lake, conditional use permit number 24-015, owner Paige Heath. Legal description is previously read into record. This request is for a tiki bar restaurant within the RR1 zone district, as the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 17.2, Parent B, Parent 3. As part of my staff report, I've kind of added some additional potential conditions, and these can be further discussed with the committee depending on how this goes. But potential conditions that I would have at this point would be hours of operation from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Sunday, obtaining licensing requirements through DAGCAP, All lighting to be at a minimum for safety aspects and downward facing. The committee, we should have some discussion about fencing or screening and or soundproofing insulation. That all other town, county, state, and federal laws are followed. That could also include potential lake association laws or rules. That the conditional use permit go with the current owner of the property. And that seating capacity not to exceed 75. Okay.
All right. Committee, we heard both sides of the story. That was good input. Appreciate that from everybody. So I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Chairman, I just have some more discussion, Jay, on was everything followed regarding notifications?
It was.
I mean, Ms. Heath must have approached our zoning department, right, requesting the cup. That triggered all of our ordinances, all our steps to notify all these people within so many feet, neighbors, correct?
Correct.
And then
yeah.
they would have known to go to that town board meeting, correct?
They get a separate notification that indicating of the request. Now there's this one property here that we heard from. They were just out of the 300-foot area. The one that is, being sold to an adjacent property owner, I would never have information as to a potential sale. It would have gone to the current owner of the property, not to a potential buyer.
Sure.
I do feel sympathetic that they were not aware of this, but how am I supposed to notify a potential buyer of a sale?
Yeah.
It would have gone to the current owner of the property.
And how again did the town board vote?
Town board
Unanimous?
unanimously approved. At least, well, they didn't check anything off. They just signed their names. They didn't mark yes or no. I mean, this again is the information that we give the town as far as their decision letter. They generally would check yes or no as part of these boxes. All they did was check approve and every one of them was signed.
Every one of them.
Yeah. so
And is this consistent with the comprehensive plan in that area?
They didn't mention anything with their comprehensive plan. I generally don't look at a town comprehensive plan as it relates to a conditional use permit, only for a rezone application. As that the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances Appendix D does allow for a recreational service oriented use such as a bar restaurant within a residential recreational 1 zone district, which is what we are in.
Got it.
So as far as comprehensive plans, I have not looked into that for this case because it is not a change of a zone district. It is a conditional use process.
So that from the town is telling me that they approved it.
They definitely approved. Now, whether or not one of them voted no or abstained or whatever, there was no indication of that. I have a check mark box that says approved and every chairman or supervisor had signed.
So that's telling me that there was no anybody against
Right.
it.
And as far as further discussion, we have additional comments from the town. It says promote and encourage more business in the town of Sand Lake, ensure adequate entrance and exit to the business, recognize the needs of the community. Signed, Elaine Nyberg, town clerk.
All right.
Is Rendezvous Road a public town road?
Yes.
Who maintains that?
Town. It's a town road.
And is Ms. Heath agreeable to all the conditions Jay has mentioned regarding the fencing and the lighting and the?
And then whatever else that I'm learning that needs to be applied, I more than happy to accommodate.
The fencing should be something that we should discuss because even if you were going to make a condition that fencing needs to be established on the east and west property lines of this property, fences are considered structures and would require further granting of a variance if that structure is going to be closer than 75 feet to the ordinary high water mark. Now, in conversations with Paige, again, this is a vacant lot we are now dealing with. The existing structures have been removed. The new proposed structures would not be eligible for a 75 or would not be eligible for a reduced average setback because we are looking at this as a use, as a conditional use permit as a bar restaurant. So we had indicated that all structures now would need to be 75 feet back. So if you wanted to do fences, the fences would have to be at 75 as well, which aren't going to do a lot for the two structures that are immediately adjacent, because 75 is back kind of where this garage is. I don't know if you can see on the map at all.
There are already two existing fences right there
Mhm.
within that 75 feet. Those were already there when I purchased the lots. So they go back, I think, even further than 75 feet, and they go up to where the shoreline is. I would just be adding to the north end of it, going towards the road for privacy and safety of the residing neighbors. So I'm not quick, I just wanted to add to that, because I wouldn't be adding a new fence, but I would go by the 75 feet. Or if I could even add on to those already applied fences.
I'd have to do a little bit of research on that. If we have an existing fence that is within 75 feet, it would have to be there for a minimum of 10 years as to then establish it as an existing non-conforming structure. And you'd be able to replace the fence within the same footprint. You wouldn't be able to expand the fence closer than 75 from the water. And that's fine. Yeah, I have no issues with it going further back.
Okay. All right, committee.
I have some concerns about this because, as mentioned, there's really no site plan. There's no septic there yet for this size of a operation. I'm really concerned about the traffic and the road condition. I have those concerns.
Good. Mr. Schuman.
Andy, is this on our traffic safety plan, or have they looked at this intersection? Because I agree with you, that's an extremely busy intersection. Not that it's at the fault of Miss Heath, but I mean, it is a busy, similar to the B&K intersection out here, they're possibly looking at a roundabout. That's safer. But I don't know that we can put our decision on whether this intersection is safe or not, but
If you're talking about rendezvous in 70?
70 and 70/27.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any discussions on either one.
And then, Marsh, how does law enforcement slow them down coming off 70 going on Rendezvous? Somebody said they go 50 miles an hour on that.
There's always deputies sitting right there at the car wash, in my opinion. And that intersection is a business intersection. I live just north of that area, so that is a business intersection. Dresslers, Lakes Gas, the strip club. I wouldn't consider one more place right there that I guess big of a deal, but I commonly see deputies there, not all the time, I guess, you guys, but they are there. If you've never seen one before, then maybe, get over there a little more, I guess, but they are there. I see them frequently, so any other way you could reduce speed or something, I guess, over there if it's needed, I guess, but those are state highways. Maybe Andy would know more about that.
Well, I agree with Marsh. I have seen them sit there at the county. I also have seen the state patrol sit across the road quite often over there from DJs. I mean, when I come up and travel that road a lot, there's always, not always, but a lot of times there's a trooper sitting in there.
And take a drive down Rendezvous, and you'll see for yourself exactly what we're talking about. Two cars can't even pass each other on Rendezvous.
Well, I'm sorry, ma'am, but we're out of public hearing here, so I'm not gonna discuss it anymore. It's up to the committee, and we're gonna turn it over to them. So what is your decision?
Well, if improvements need to be done to Rendezvous, be it that it is a town road, I mean, those considerations really should be worked out with the individual town. I think the one saving grace, and again, I'm not neither for or against this application. You would expect that people coming down 70 that are coming to the 27 entrance would be slowing down because the stop sign's right there. Or those coming off of 27 and heading down 70 wouldn't be to full speed yet because they just made the turn to get around the corner. So, as far as an entrance onto Rendezvous, other than the improvement of Rendezvous itself from a town road perspective, it seems like a decent location. I would never want to see an entrance onto 27 through the wetland complex. You would need quite a bit of approvals from DNR to do wetland fill, but also then you're going right on to a major highway where cars are not slowing down.
And it was approved by the town.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that the town took into consideration the shape of Rendezvous Road. Knowing that this was, well, you would think they would. They knew a business was going in there or wanted to go in there and they approved it.
And they were responsible for the maintenance of it.
Right.
I want to hear from you two guys. Please.
Well, to get off the dime, I'll make a motion to approve CUP 24-015.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Kirian to approve.
With the conditions in Jay's staff report
And findings of facts.
and findings of facts.
You want to throw your finding of fact in there, Mr. Kirian?
And we really probably want to go through them on this one to make sure that they're buttoned up. I know we have legal counsel on the line as well, but if you need to look at the findings of facts, we probably want to go through these step by step as to why do the following, either do the following or not do the following, just to make sure that the record is solidified on this one. Correct. Well, he would want to include that in his original motion, I suppose, if there was to be a second then.
So you said Rebecca's on there?
She is.
Rebecca, you want to give us your input, please, quickly?
You bet. I agree with what Jay just said, that the motion should include all of the conditions. The second obviously needs to second all of those conditions. After the motion is on the floor, if the committee would like to have further discussion of those conditions, you may do so. I would also ask that you ask the applicant if the applicant agrees to all of those conditions prior to making the final vote.
Rebecca, I did ask her if she was agreeable to Jay's conditions that he listed here, and she agreed. But now we're on the findings of facts, so Mr. Kariainen needs to identify those to see if I'll second that.
So are you incorporating, does the motion incorporate all of Jay's conditions from the staff report?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And I think what Jay was saying is that now that you have that motion to have discussion on those conditions.
Although we don't have a second on that yet till we get the findings of facts stated.
This is, you don't have to have the findings of fact stated in the motion. I know that others have encouraged you to do that. But this is a perfect example of why that is, in my opinion, not the best legal advice because it muddies the waters.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know we talked about that at our last get together, Rebecca, and you told me that, but I still believe, and I don't know if Jay's on board with this, that we should have them finding of facts in record.
You absolutely need them in the record. There's no question about that. The question is whether you need to have them in the motion.
Oh, in the motion.
Okay.
You do not need to have them in the motion. In fact, I would recommend that you don't.
Okay.
Because there may be other discussion and additional findings of fact that you want to add. So again, you do not need to have those findings of fact in the motion, but you are correct, Mr. Chairman, that you absolutely need to have them in the record.
Okay, because I know we were told by council to include them in our motion, the finding of facts. That comes from our legal counsel. And I believe it was Mr. Andy Phillips, if I remember right.
In this situation, there may have been a situation where Andy advised that to include the finding, like that list of findings of fact in the motion. In this situation, I think I don't think it's necessary. You certainly can do so. You just have to be very particular in how you state the motion then.
All right, so we do have a motion. Now, the motion was as of Jay's staff report, but we did have some additional conditions that were placed on there, or at least that, I had read into record that Ms. Heath agreed upon. I'd like to potentially restate those as well as the motion maker either solidifying those or changing those, but the ones that I had identified outside of just what's included on the hard copy staff report is that the hours of operation be 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Sunday, obtaining licensing requirements through DATCAP. All lighting must be at a minimum for safety aspects and downward facing, that fencing or screen provisions would be required, and that would not be able to increase closer to the lake than existingly placed or to a distance of 75. That all other town, county, state, and lake association laws are followed. That the conditional use permit go with the current owner of the property. That seating capacity is not to exceed 75 feet. And that the
75 people.
did I say feet? 75 people, sorry. And that soundproofing insulation be required for noise buffering.
Okay.
Agreed.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the CUP number 24-015 with the conditions on Jay's staff report
And read into record.
and read into record. Any more discussion? If not, Kathy, let's do a roll call, please.
Jen Sarowski.
Yes.
Kay Wilson. Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Steve Carriennen.
Yes.
Tweet Schuman.
Yes.
Approved with 4-1.
Okay. All right.
Now we do want to go through findings of facts?
Yeah.
Yep.
I have them up on the screen there if that helps you at all, and they're right behind you. But we would need you the motion maker, to kind of go through the findings of facts as by approving of the conditional use permit, would it do the following as those 14 items? And you, for this one, again, I think it would be pertinent that we go through each one and discuss why it does or doesn't meet these findings of facts.
We promote public health, safety, convenience, and general welfare. That's a mixed bag. Convenience certainly for some folks to get some recreation and food along the lake shore, but hard to say anything other than that. Encourage planned and orderly land use development. That's questionable. Protect property values and property tax base. I can't speak to that. Permit careful planning and efficient maintenance of highway system. That's a tough one, yes. Encourage adequate highway utility, health, and educational and recreational facilities. I don't see where that applies. Recognize the needs of agriculture, forestry, industry, and business in future growth. Well, it's growth of a business, so that's positive. Encourage use of land and other natural resources which are in accordance with their character and adaptability.
And I think Rebecca has some comments here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut the maker of the motion off, but I think I can maybe help out here. and just maybe sort of engage in a dialogue with the maker of the motion. We want to make sure that all of the discussion, for the last over an hour is incorporated into the record. And so I'll just, if it's okay with the committee, I'll just ask the maker of the motion some questions, and then those can be incorporated into the findings of fact. Does that work?
Yes, go ahead.
Sure.
Okay. So for the promotion of public health, safety, convenience, and general welfare, there was the robust discussion throughout the consideration and during the public hearing, and the committee has decided that the proposal is going to promote public health, safety, convenience, and general welfare for all of those reasons stated. But there's also protections in place within the conditions of the CUP that will also protect health, safety, convenience, and welfare. Would you agree with that, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Encourage planned and orderly land use development. This is a question that gets to ongoing approvals, and we want to make sure that everything is in the proper zoning designation, which this is as a conditional use permit, and also the town approved as part of the planned and orderly land use for the use of this property. Would you agree with that, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Protect property values and property tax base. You heard from quite a few neighbors who had concerns about the application and the proposal. You also heard from individuals who supported it. The concern with respect to all of the potential impacts of noise and increased traffic and those use impacts oftentimes go to property values. If you've got someone who is using a property and there's increased traffic, you as the adjoining property owner, you may see a decrease in your property value. So this item, protection of property values and tax base, goes to the conditions that were set in and agreed to in the conditional use permit in order to protect those property values from any negative impacts of the proposed use. Do you agree with those, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Permit the careful planning and efficient maintenance of highway systems. It's not, we don't have direct access to a county highway. We had a very good discussion about the town road. So this is applicable from the standpoint of there has been careful planning and considerations of maintenance and any impacts of the town road. Do you agree with that, sir?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Ensure adequate highway utility, health, educational, and recreational facilities. This is an item that quite a few people in the public hearing commented on new opportunities for the recreational facilities and the ability to take your pontoon or take your boat over to the proposed restaurant.
Yes.
Okay, and we'll keep going. Recognize the needs of agricultural, forestry, industry, and business and future growth. Again, in new business, I think that would be applicable.
Mhm.
Okay. Encourage uses of land and other natural resources which are in accordance with their character and adaptability. I think the use of the land on the lake, the fact that this proposed use is a conditional use permit in the zoning designation, I think those are items you can point to that it is the use of a land which is in accordance with its character and adaptability. And also you look at the lake as a natural resource for everyone to enjoy, and the business promoting more boating use or more the opportunity for people to use the lake and then be able to have that recreational opportunity in addition to their use of the lake.
Absolutely.
Okay. Provide adequate light and air, including access to sunlight for solar collectors and to wind. This one we did not talk about. We don't have any proposals for any renewable energy facilities, but the access to light and air, I think you can roll that into how the site is going to be laid out. And based on my understanding of the plans, and the discussion is that it will be an orderly layout. Do you agree with
Right.
that?
Yes.
Okay. Protection of groundwater resources. One of your conditions is that the applicant has to comply with all applicable laws, which would include the POUTS regulations and making sure that the system is sized properly for the use. That obviously protects groundwater resources, and some of the other conditions you have in place, I think, would also support that, the finding that you are protecting groundwater resources. Would you agree with that?
Exactly.
Okay. Preserve wetlands. We don't have, at least it's my recollection, we don't have any active wetlands on this property. If there are, or some would be included in the property. Again, one of the conditions is that the applicant has to comply with all applicable laws. And so therefore all wetland obligations and restrictions would have to be complied with.
Yes.
Okay, conserve soil, water, and forest resources. Again, the conditions require compliance with all applicable laws. And so when we're looking at soil, water resources, the applicant is going to be subject to all shoreland requirements. They are going to be subject to all erosion control requirements, so they can't engage in activities that are going to erode the shoreline.
Correct.
Okay. Protect the beauty and amenities of landscape and man-made developments. This one doesn't not really any items like specifically address this one. However, I think given the information you have about the proposed business, and I think it's a fair statement to say that the owner has presented that she is going to want this to be a very attractive place for customers to come. And so the landscaping would be part of that, as would the man-made developments. So I think you can look at that. And then also it goes to the impacts on neighboring properties and protection of the beauty and amenities of those neighboring properties and man-made developments. And I think there's conditions such as discussion on the fencing or other restrictions that are intended to protect the beauty and amenities of adjacent properties.
Yes.
Okay. Provide healthy surroundings for family life. Sorry. I just got a notice that I should be done talking soon. Provide healthy surroundings for family life. I think that, again, the applicant mentioned, her whole family's involvement in the project and the process. And I think it's fair to say that when you have recreational opportunities and a chance for families to go out on boats and stop at a restaurant, that is a promotion and an opportunity for healthy family time. And again, compliance with all applicable laws is a clear condition. And so compliance with all of those laws are obviously important to provide those healthy surroundings for family life. And then finally, promote I'm sorry, sir, do you agree with number 13?
Yes, I do.
Right. Promote the efficient and economical use of public funds. I don't believe there's any public funds involved in this, but I think you can look to all of the other discussion in your record. And the fact that the town approved this and the town is the party maintaining the road, that it's fair to imply that the town feels that it's a good and proper use of a road that they're maintaining, and therefore it's an efficient and economical use of the public funds that are used to maintain that road.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Well, we already had a motion and a second on that, so. Finding of facts, yep, I agree. And thanks, Rebecca, for that.
You're welcome.
Moving on here, we are under new business. This is the Eugene Rumsey Certified Survey Map. This crosses the exterior boundary of an existing county subdivision plat. This does require zoning committee acceptance, conditional acceptance, or rejection. We do have the surveyor here today with the official maps for this one. I have done a preliminary review as well as the county surveyor has done a preliminary review. There are no issues that were foreseen with this proposed subdivision. Again, though, this proposed certified survey map goes exterior of an existing issued county subdivision plat and does require zoning committee approval, conditional approval or rejection in order to be solidified.
Okay.
So explain what that is.
So, and I wouldn't know the years, but probably somewhere back in the 70s when Linden Road was first developed, it went as a county subdivision plat. So a larger plat that split off these lots. Well, now we have a new lot that is going outside of that plat and adding some additional land into it. It still meets the requirements of the current zoning ordinance for lot developments, 100 feet of width, 200 feet of depth, 20,000 square feet of land area. But because it goes outside of that original plat that was approved in the 70s, that is where the state statutes require zoning committee approval on it. Otherwise, you would never see these because they already meet all the other requirements. It's just that it goes outside of an existing approved plat by the committee.
Okay. Jesse, do you have anything you want to add to this or?
Well, it's
Kinda like-
two existing parcels, they just wanted to move the lot line to give lot one a little more room to back out of the garage.
Okay,
That was the main purpose of it.
okay.
So Jesse, you don't see a problem with this? Proving this?
So
Oh, okay.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman, as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Schulman, second by Ms. Wilson to approve the existing county subdivision plat.
I'll need your signature on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you bring it up here, Jess?
Any more discussion on that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries to approve.
All right, next item under new business is amending the ordinance to make holding tanks an option of last resort. This is as a discussion only. So this has come up in conversations focusing around the kind of tourist rooming house development or tourist rooming house ordinance. So right now Sawyer County is a system of choice. When we say systems of choice, I didn't sign it yet. You want me to sign this real quick? Sure. So when we look at systems of choice, Sawyer County, longstanding history of being a system of choice. So we see two different types of scenarios within counties throughout the state of Wisconsin. System of choice and system of last resort. System of choice means that, you know, regardless of what the lot conditions are, or what the soil types are on an individual lot, you could choose to go a holding tank route. It has worked well historically in that we have a lot of either seasonal cabins or recreational cabins, or to the extent, you know, hunting camps, where hunting camps out in the middle of no man's land, where it's, you know, semi-expensive to, you know, drill a well, or even if they did have pressurized water, you know, they didn't utilize the property that much. So they didn't want to spend the extra couple $1,000s that it would, you know, cost to go to a conventional sewer system route versus a holding tank. So again, being a system of choice, we've always allowed someone to just do a holding tank as their means of their sewer system disposal. What this is potentially looking at is that we would go back into our private on-site wastewater treatment system ordinance, POUTS ordinance, and look at changing that to a system of last resort, where if you didn't have soils that were suitable for a mound site, that you could still go to a holding tank. Or if you didn't have room or area available for a mound system, that at that point you could go the holding tank route. The reason why this comes up with the tourist rooming house aspects is that there's potential fear that in order to increase your capacity for your number of occupants, that you could put a separate 2,000 gallon holding tank and now say I can sleep 8 more people, because 8 more people would be the size of a 2,000 gallon holding tank. So that is where this is being looked at in conjunction with the tourist rooming house ordinance to see whether or not Sawyer County should go to this other type of designation for system of choice versus system of last resort. I'm, I guess, on the fence with it. If it's just for the tourist rooming house aspects, I'd almost like to carve it out for that, but I don't know how you could. We have a lot of other existing ones out there. I don't know how to deal with those if we end up changing this option that has been in practice for 20+ years. But I do think we have the chair of the TRH ad hoc committee that would like to speak more on this aspect.
Okay. You go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more.
Hi, Ginny Chabak, 10363N McLean Road. So what Jay said is correct. The most important thing to me about the TRH ordinance is the protection of our groundwater resources and our surface water resources by overtaxing some of these systems on lakes. If this is allowed to happen, the potential is that people can get around the proposed ordinance and expand their occupancy by adding a holding tank. That's bad for the environment. Not only is it bad for the environment for the TRHs, it's bad in general. And so I do believe that it's the best thing for the county to say system of last resort to go to holding tanks across the board. Just because those holding tanks through use take water off our system. That water goes somewhere else. It doesn't go back into the ground like it's supposed to go. So yes, I'm not exactly sure where the verbiage is in the document. I printed out and read through it and I couldn't find it. If it is it ordinance, private sewage system ordinance number 1-2011.
I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but it would be in that ordinance.
Okay.
That's at least where you'd have to introduce it, that holding tanks are to be a system of last resort. Now, in conversations with at least other counties, they require, if you were to go to the holding tank route, that it would be by some other type of board or committee that would grant that approval, where you would have to have, a shown soil test that soils are not suitable for even a mound site, or to the aspects that there is no other available area on the site for a mound system or conventional sewer system. And then you basically get a conditional use permit approval through a committee, a zoning committee, to say that this is your last resort and you still are allowed to go holding tank. So there'd be some serious changes with that House ordinance that would be needed in order to make that step. That is in fact a zoning ordinance, so it would be as a zoning ordinance amendment, would have to go out to the towns, would have to have a public hearing process, and it would ultimately fall on this committee on whether or not to further that on to the county board for ratification.
I would like to see this taken in a more simple fashion. I mean, if the soils are sufficient, if the space is sufficient, if all the things are there to put in a conventional system, it should be a conventional system. And I mean, I don't think you have to carve that out for TRHs. However, I am concerned about it in the current status of the TRH ordinance, that it could become a problem or a loophole or a workaround if we don't fix this pretty quick.
Exactly. Gee, you said right now it's a system of choice.
Mm-hmm.
So you would allow a closed system or a holding tank, even if the soil would accept a conventional system?
Yes.
Is that true?
It is.
Do
Now
you?
Yes, it is a system of, we are a system of choice. Our county has been a system of choice. Now, that is certainly not a recommended approach because
No, I
the
know.
cost differential from a holding tank install to a conventional sewer system install is maybe $1,000, $2,000. You're going to make that up in your pumping charges over the first couple years. So people that can go conventional sewer system, not the TRH side of things, but people that can go conventional over holding tank, 99.9% of the time they're going the conventional sewer system route. It's the aspects when your choice is a $8,000 holding tank or a $30,000 mountain system. mound system is that you're bringing in additional sand because you're not meeting your limiting factor of the soil. So you're bringing in additional sand to build up that, to put your sewer system, so you still have your limiting factor beneath that. That is where we have been that system of choice where people can decide, well, do you want to spend the $8,000 to $10,000 as a holding tank and basically pay, $500 to $600 a year to pump that out a couple times? Or do you want to install a $30,000 mound system? And that is where a lot of people do end up going the holding tank route, at least initially. So if we can make ordinance language that states that if you have room available and soils available for a conventional system, we would not allow a holding tank. I like that.
I do too.
But if you were to say that you have to prove all other mechanisms, and again, this is what a lot of other counties do, that if you can do a mound system and spend, $40,000 on a very intricate interpretive site design mound system, you have to do that versus a holding tank. That becomes a little bit more of the extreme side of things.
Sure. I agree with Ms. Chubbuck about, I want to prevent that loophole that increases occupancy that might damage our environment, damage our groundwater. So maybe, Jay, could you look at some language that was your first choice there?
Yeah.
That if the soil is there and.
I don't think we can make a rule just for tourist rooming houses, so.
No, but I would say that if room is available and soil conditions are allowed for a conventional system, you're not allowed the holding tank option. That's really what it boils down to. But from there, then it would also be who's the soil conditions is obviously through a certified soil test, but the room available, I guess, would you want that to be on county zoning staff to determine that? Or would you want, if someone still wants to go a holding tank route on that type of choice, they need to get further approval from the committee in order to do so? That, I guess, was where I would need clarification is how you want that draft formatted.
Wouldn't Eric, the sanitarian, wouldn't he have that type of,
They would, but then you're gonna have people, oh, well, that's where we park vehicles, or that's where we park our trailers, so we don't wanna put the conventional sewer system there. Oh, we were gonna put a future garage site there, so we can't put the conventional sewer system there, so now we need a holding tank. These are things that are gonna come up.
Yeah, they are. But I agree. I think we should just do the conventional and do whatever we have to do with the holding tanks, because I agree with Ms. Jabeck and Tweed. They're gonna try to do that to get more occupancy. So I think we can get that in there somehow. The change.
So I will bring something back to this committee, hopefully within the next couple months, to look at some draft
Okay.
ordinance language on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda.
Linda Zilmer, Edgewater. Speaking to the tourist rooming house, to the holding tank thing as it pertains to tourist rooming houses. Like Ginny, I'm very much concerned with the impacts on groundwater. And the scenario that's been happening, one particular incident that has been going on for a couple of years, and I know the zoning department has heard about it on Lake Chautauqua, where you have your relatively small lots that had the old seasonal cabins. You're getting into the situation of tear downs and rebuilding large buildings that are with the intent of being tourist rooming houses, and they are designed to actually accommodate 2 to 3 different parties, not just a single family. The initial permit issued for the pout system for a particular property was for a holding tank. I have to assume that it was because maybe soils or the site situations did not accommodate a conventional system. The discussion that has been going around in amongst the neighbors and with the owner was that with the intent of renting that out as a tourist rooming house, they did not want to pay the expensive pumping fees involved with holding tanks. And now I believe that that's being installed with a conventional system. What I would like, and it's maybe on the enforcement side again, is how do we know that these systems that are being installed based on this cost of pumping holding tanks isn't actually contaminating groundwater because now conventional systems are being put in for high use on small lots where there's shallow water and likely sandpoint wells. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, good. Let's go on to number C then. Update on the tourist rooming house ad hoc committee relating to.
Yeah, we do have our chair here, the ad hoc committee, also several other members that sit on that ad hoc committee are here as well. Well, one. The update is, at least as far as I know, that there are additional, I guess, comments or at least, I guess, options that are going to be brought back to the TRH committee as to, choose your adventure, choose your option type of scenario to an extent without calling it a poll. But there are a few elements of the TRH ordinance that we need to bring back to that ad hoc committee to see which route those members want to take it. We are still looking at moving this forward as an HHS ordinance and not specifically as a zoning ordinance. Those conversations have come up multiple times through discussion. Just because every other county runs this through as more of a zoning process doesn't mean that that's what would necessarily work for Sawyer County. We are somewhat behind the 8 ball now at this point, be it that we have over 600 tourist rooming houses. If you were going to set a requirement that all tourist rooming houses would need approval of a conditional use permit, you're looking at 600 conditional use permits coming through this committee, which I don't know if we want to necessarily do. If you are going to have specialized conditions that each individual TRH needs to meet, such as quiet hours or the inability to shoot off fireworks or that parking is being addressed, that's something you want to write in a actual ordinance and not something that you want to put on conditions through some other type of specialized conditional use permit. There were elements that we said that they needed to be in specific zone districts. Well, what zone districts would those be? Are we needing to craft out a new separate zone district, like a RR3 zone district? Well, in that case, we don't have an RR3 zone district. So anyone that applies for a rezone for a TRH to be in an RR3, how do we get past that? Because now every single one of them is going to be considered spot zoning. So in conversations with our TRH ad hoc committee, with conversations with legal counsel, this was kind of the best approach that we thought moving forward. And I'd turn it over back to our TRH chair or legal counsel to further talk about those other elements.
Got any more you want to add?
Yeah, thank you. The last meeting, we wrapped up the last meeting with a request, do some rework on the draft ordinance based on specific input from certain members of the committee. This is, in my opinion, an opportunity for a compromise to be built. And that's the way I'm looking at it. We have our next meeting scheduled for Thursday, the 22nd. And the draft that we're going to be looking at is an example of what a compromise might look like. I'm encouraging the committee to have discussion on this and see if we can't get to something that will become easily transferable to the HHS board for approval and eventually get to county board for approval. I don't think that the zoning issue right now is really in the cards. Not that it shouldn't be. But we're so far down the road and we put so much work into this. And we're very close to having something that if we were to start over again, we're talking about more time for bad things to happen in our community and in our environment by not getting something done. That's basically my goal.
Okay, Mr. Schuman.
Well, yeah, but we had a committee member and a town chair that was adamant that zoning should jump in on this, right, Jay? And Jay, you've always said that you don't have time, staff, you don't need to be involved in this.
We want to look at it from the aspect of the sewer system capacity as a mechanism for occupants. And that is something that we can do with current staff. But if you're looking at having this more as a conditional use permit approval, or even to the extent a special use permit approval process for over the 600 existing TRHs that we have in the county, there's no way the current staff level at zoning would be able to handle that.
Got it.
Or this committee. I mean, we're at 2 hours right now on today's meeting, and that was 2 cases.
Well, we'll turn it over to Katie, Letter Department, you know.
Yes. Where are you at, Marshall? You're on that committee.
We're still waiting to hear back the responses from those other people, I believe, right? And that's coming back on August 22nd. And
There's a draft out now. We got those responses.
after that meeting, it goes back to Health and Human Services in September.
No, after we meet again and approve that draft and go
We
there.
approve it then, okay.
Yeah. But there's still an issue on occupancy.
Okay.
Well, I mean, and this was just for an update as far as, you know, again, I mean, there's been conversations that, you know, should this go through zoning? How does it look if it goes through zoning? Everyone else goes through zoning. And those, again, a lot of other counties are struggling with this as well as it goes through zoning. So I don't understand why we have to, you know, be the sheep of other counties and have it go through a zoning provision because we are different than these other counties.
We're Sawyer County.
That's right.
Yes. So go ahead, Ben, quickly.
Sure. Benjamin Kurtzwell again, 16040 West Lane, Chairman of the Town of Hayward. I guess this argument, I understand we're talking about why not zoning. I understand what Jay's saying, but if every other county's doing it too, that's the same rationale why we opened up all of our roads to ATVs, was because every other county did it. We're talking with Bug Tussle about doing a system because it's worth these other counties. So this idea that we're different from other counties is kind of ludicrous when it comes to other decisions that have been made at the county level. Now, maybe we should look into these other counties and see what their staffing is for zoning and how they are handling this short-term rental tourist rooming house, because again, we are the black sheep if we are the ones that run it through HHS. And I don't believe that anyone has shown that HHS is going to have the manpower either to enforce a lot of this. So hopefully we can maybe find even a hybrid where we can have zoning looking at the well and septic and HHS maybe looking at something else. But I understand both departments alone can't handle it. But again, to say that zoning shouldn't be involved, I think they're going to have to be, not just because every other county is, but HHS, Matt McKay is not going to be equipped to look at 600 rooming houses and more every year for inspections alone. How is he going to be enforcing everything? So just wanted to mention that. Thank you very much.
And the current plan, cooperative departmental usage would be that zoning would sign off on the occupancy based upon sewer systems for that property. Wells are controlled by the DNR though. They do a water test kit though to make sure the drinking water is adequate. So.
Doug, go ahead, quickly, please. We're not in a public hearing. I'm just letting you speak.
Thank you. Douglas Kurzweil, 11055W Arrow Road, Hayward, Wisconsin. I personally think zoning is the appropriate committee or department to handle the TRH thing, but it's not my decision. Whether it's HHS or zoning, irregardless, they need adequate staffing to do the required inspections, and they need adequate, competent, trained staff to do the enforcement. So you're looking at at least one more full-time, maybe 2 full-time employees, whether it's HHS or zoning, because no matter how good or bad an ordinance is, if there is no enforcement, it's not worth a crap. And I'm continuing to have issues out at the Old Arrow Resort LLC. I've reached out to Matt McKay and he's gone. He's on vacation till the 20th. There has to be enforcement, and you can't lay that burden on the neighbors. That's not right. It is divisive. It is destructive to the fabric of the neighborhoods. So you're looking at least 1, maybe 2 full-time people, whether it's HHS or zoning. But again, enforcement is a very challenging job, and I think Marshall might agree with me. It requires a personality that people will accept, kind of personable, congenial, but also being able to ask the tough questions and then verify. Just because somebody tells you something doesn't mean it's the truth. kind of like a bit of an investigator type of a thing. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm looking forward to seeing this new draft. There was a really good article in the paper this week about the meeting on the 31st. And a sidebar in the interior along one of the continued pages where, by gosh, someone from the paper actually read that right to rent or statute. And it turns out that many of the points I made on the 31st are indeed being interpreted the same way in that article. And I always like that, some confirmation that, geez, I not only read it, but I understood it. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we have Andy here, the administrator. He's listening to all this, so, that's something.
I was just gonna say that.
And all this stuff, I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And right now, zoning is just swamped. Go ahead, Andy.
So this is separate from the, working on the next year's budget, but the approach we're taking is to get through the ordinance and the adoption, and after the ordinance, we'll be looking at what the criteria is in there, which will set, we'll come back with a proposal for fees. The committee hasn't talked about what the permit fee will be to tourist rooming houses. And that permit fee will then tie to revenue for increased staffing.
Right. And shoot for budget neutral.
Right. We want this to cover itself. Exactly.
Okay, anything else?
Letter D here, the communication regarding the zoning processes and timelines received from the Sawyer County Unit Towns Association. I believe these were sent out to you. So there was a letter that was actually directed to Andy Alvarado from the Sawyer County Unit Wisconsin Towns Association. This is as part of the handout that I had given to the community or the committee members. It would be the last page was the letter that Andy had received that has become apparent that the timeline and information provided to the towns by the county zoning department need to be reviewed and adjusted to provide town plan commissions and committees and boards the ability to make and return informed decisions on zoning matters. Currently, application DNR letters on shoreline issues and staff reports are arriving at the towns at different times, either with limited time before town meetings or after town meetings. Extending the time between receipt of an application and the hearing of the BOA or zoning committee public hearing may be necessary for the towns to make informed decisions. Sawyer County Unit of Wisconsin Town Association requests that Sawyer County review the current situation and work with towns to develop deadlines, publication requirements, documentation of the town decision forms that meet statutory requirements provided for due process and implementation, and setting this 2025 calendar. So with this, I am going to reach out to the towns because one of the frustrating things in my profession is that towns will switch when their town plan commissions meet. They never keep a consistent timeline. At least some towns will they will not have a town plan commission meeting unless they need to have one. And then they have a floating date on when that town plan commission meets. That doesn't help me setting timelines or deadlines if they're going to change when their town plan commissions meet. It is my intent to get information to the town planning commission as well as the town board with at least 5 business days before they hold their meeting. So first I need to figure out when these town plan commissions are going to meet and really have to hold the towns accountable to when those are going to occur. But I did end up reaching out to other counties within our area as to what they provide to towns. That is included in my responses from other counties that I've given in the committee. Douglas County does not provide detailed staff reports to their town board members. They set out their staff reports the Monday before their committee weeks. So that even the committee doesn't get a chance to review it until 1 week before the actual meeting. You generally have it way before then. They don't send out additional packets of information. They just send out the publication notice. Iron County. Our corporation council has advised that in a top-down governance in the comprehensive zone county, any feedback from the respective town is non-binding on the county, and that the zoning committee and we have worded our input documents to reflect that. He, being the corporation council, posits that it is unconstitutional for the inferior body to overreach superior ordinance or impose their will over the superior body, and it is unconstitutional generally for the superior body to enforce the will of the inferior body if such request is not mantled in the ordinances of the superior body. Having said that, our zoning committee places great weight on the viewpoint of the town. Again, they don't send additional information on the town, they send them just the publication notices. Ashland County, do you send anything out additional to the towns? We send the town the public hearing notice and what the public hearing will entail. And then they send them the zoning committee agenda. Washburn County, do you provide staff reports to the town? No. Do you have anything additional that you send to the town? I send a copy of the application that is provided to us, to the town with their decision letter. We've been asked to attend the meeting, but we were advised by legal counsel not to be put in the middle of a town board and their community members when we do not enforce their ordinances. Burnett County, do you provide a detailed staff report to the towns? Only if they request it. You send anything additional, we send them the notice of the public hearing and the application. So Sawyer County, even at this point, is going above and beyond those 5 other counties that sent responses back to me. So I was a little blindsided to see this letter, and I think either Andy or Rebecca had additional comments that they may have wanted to make to this as well. But again, it is my position that we will be giving the towns additional information. First, I want to reach out to the towns as to exactly when are you holding your town plan commission meetings, if you have town plan commissions, and when are you holding your town boards? Because if you're going to change your dates on me, I can't make an official and a timeline to follow.
Jay,
Sorry.
Go ahead, please. Go
Well,
ahead.
one of the comments that you read that we really value the town's opinion and their vote. That is so true, I think, with us or with
Oh, we do.
myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's the town, they're the local government.
Right.
They should be hearing and listening to their people, and then I take that very positive.
I'd like to ask a question. So hypothetically, I'm a person that's applying for a rezone.
Mhm.
You get the application. When do we hear it? What is the timeline?
Right now, you'd be 2 months out. Today would be the deadline for hearings in October. So if you came in today and said you want to rezone your property, today would be the deadline. We would generally say it is the 15th of the month, but being today is the 16th on a Friday, we probably would still be having enough time to get it on the October docket. So at that point, somewhere by mid to late September, we would have the publication notices ready to go to be sent out to the town. The packet of information would be sent out late in September for hearings in October.
So you're talking 8 weeks.
Yep, the minimum. And then even at that point, you would still have final ratification in county board in November.
Right. So I did a little research on other counties and what their timelines were,
Mhm.
and the minimum was 8 weeks. And if it was more complicated, it would be longer. So I don't think that, I think we could extend it. I mean,
For the rezone aspects, again, I mean, if you came in, let's say you came in on
I just picked that one.
July 20th, you wouldn't know for certain if your property was rezoned until the county board meeting in November. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Mid to end of July and not be told final yay or nay at county board until November. That's a longer process. And that's one of the issues I guess we have with where our zoning committee dates fall, and that they fall generally the day after county board, which then puts that ratification of a rezone another month back. So I mean, that is certainly something we can look at. You know, that is what we're looking at for September, September/October as setting our dates for zoning committee for the calendar of 2025. And we've gone back and forth on that. We generally try to work with the current committee structure that we have as to when their dates and times work for them. Kathy and I, at least from our perspectives, we've been adamant that we'd like to keep it during 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, and not have night meetings for zoning committee.
No way, they run too long, some of them. Most of them.
Right.
And Jay, I don't know if Andy talked to you or not, but Andy and I got together while we talked. And I would like to see if we can get the town board chairs back together here and meeting face to face. I suggested just the chairs, but it was brought to my attention that maybe, well, the town board chairs ain't up and everything that maybe the supervisors, you got any input on that?
Yeah.
I would like to do it because I missed the last one.
Sure. Yeah, and that's fine. We tried to, we sent out requests for them to attend when we had kind of that open discussion for those proposed ordinance amendments focusing around multi-dwelling development. The only thing when you start inviting multiple town board supervisors and chairs is that if it's a town board that's made up of 3 and 2 of them come, they need to somehow put that out into publication that they're going to have basically a quorum present,
Right.
right? So that they're not running afoul as a walking quorum. Specifically also, if there's a 5-member panel, that if 3 of them showed up, they have a walking quorum. So I don't know the legalities of how they need to post that they're gonna have that meeting, or if that's something that the county can post, that we're inviting multiple town supervisors as a town board meeting of sorts.
Yeah, yes, in light of the letter, and just other conversation, I guess my vision, and I agree, I talked to Ron about just having a sit down with the town board chairs, or if they need to designate somebody else. I know we had them, invited them into the zoning committee as part of the discussion on the multi-dwelling units, that stuff. I don't know if that worked out the best. I would just prefer a roundtable. Sit down, have a cup of coffee, hear their concerns on zoning process and timelines, and we can have some conversation. I think what Jay's pointing out is good feedback or back and forth information that I think that we should appreciate that they want Jay staff reports and they want that information. I'd also tell them they shouldn't be relying on it because they're a separate legislative body. It's intended that Jay's report is for you. It's a courtesy to give it to them. They need to make sure that they're actually should be using the information to talk more to the applicant. And if they have, getting a comfort level with the project or the rezone request or the CUP from the applicant. But to me, it's just sit down and have a conversation, hear their concerns, find out what middle ground we have. And for me, I wouldn't even personally, as the administrator, limit it to zoning. As long as we're going to sit down, just talk about, things in general.
Whatever, yeah.
We're building relationships on the highway department side of it, doing town work there. Broadband's still an issue out there. I would welcome the opportunity to do that. From a legal standpoint, we invite them. If they're going to send more than 2, it's their responsibility to post an agenda. If we're going to have a quorum of the board want to attend, then we would post an agenda for our board. But, my hope, it's not going to have it's hard to have a roundtable or a fireside chat with 50 people in the room. I'm trying to keep this more casual and conversational and hear their concerns and hear right from the town themselves, or the towns. I think even, I've tried to go to the Sawyer County unit towns meeting, and not all the towns are there. So, and I think towns have a different, not all towns have the same level of issues or concerns or processes that we might need to talk about.
Well, that was one of my reasons for just having the town board chairs. That way a quorum wouldn't be an option. But who's not saying that they're gonna bring their supervisors? So I like to say, yeah, it would be up to them to know that it's gonna have a quorum, and it's up to them to take care of that part. But I agree with just having, the round table discussion, coffee and whatever. I don't know how many of these guys would like to sit in on that, but I know I will. So if it's something that we can set up, and I know Jay's really busy, but
I know they said something about it. I think an evening meeting would be best for this though.
evening?
No, that's fine. It's just not all zoning committee meetings.
Right, I know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'd be okay with that. Sure.
I'm gonna proceed and find a date and get a notice out to the towns.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So, Ben, what do you got? We want to be done here. Well, you guys keep coming up with more stuff.
Well, you guys keep talking about stuff, and boy, we want to say something. First of all, again, here we are comparing counties, what other counties are doing. Second of all, here are the issues as a town of Hayward chairman that I've experienced in the last couple months. There was a rezone over Medical Services, Inc., which I'm sure some of you remember. That was, again, something that was on us, but was against the comprehensive plan. We didn't feel we had all the information before we made our decision. We just had a CSM on Chippewa Trail where a property owner had his house on one lot and a vacant like a pole shed on the other lot. He wanted to split the lots into 2 so he could sell us the house and build a new house on the lot with the pole shed. Well, again, our planning commission turned that down because we didn't want to create a lot with a vacant building on it. The planning commission tabled it. Well, then I talked to Jay a day or two later and he says, well, he's got land use permits waiting in the wing for us to do the CSM. If our planning commission had had that information, I believe they would not have tabled it. So the board had to pick that off the table and deal with it. These are just two instances where we are struggling to do our best, also like you guys. We don't have a zoning administrator or legal sitting over our shoulder at every meeting telling us we're doing the right thing. I believe that possibly the town of Sand Lake, again, didn't understand their own comprehensive plan when they approved certain things that happened with the conditional use permit today. We want to prevent that. So we are just asking, pleading, please, any information you give us, we would be appreciated. The town of Hayward meets, the planning commission meets every Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month. The board meetings are the second Tuesday of the month. So we're set in stone when our planning commission meets. We have a lot of issues that are usually on our agenda that comes to zoning issues. So we're set. We're just waiting for the information. We understand it's being told a courtesy. And I think that is part of the reason why this WTA letter, which I attended the WTA meeting, the hands up to vote was unanimous. The only town that was not there, Round Lake was not there because they had a special meeting. There were some other towns that did not attend. Also, the town of Hayward voted on August 8th to sign our name to that letter. And so you'll be getting one of those from the town of Hayward, and I believe the town of Hunter has also done the same. After last zoning committee meeting last month, where again, the idea was this is a courtesy giving us this information. And if we don't like it, there are methods and avenues to leave county zoning. I know, that's what I'm saying. So I think that was part of the reason why we're pleading this WTA unit. Please, guys, let's work together here. You know, the county is made up of the towns. We're all working in this together. As much information as possible and as timely as possible would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. No, I'm not gonna take any more. I have heard enough. We're not in a public hearing.
I'm just gonna say, I was hoping that the zoning committee did, notice that a quorum of the zoning committee was present at the TRH meeting on the 31st.
No, it wasn't.
They were present. Tweed, you're on that committee?
I am.
And Kay, I believe you and Ron were sitting right there.
Oh, I was thinking of
At
the
TRH.
Wisconsin Towns Association.
At the TRH.
Yeah, I misunderstood you.
Quorum of the zoning committee was present at that TRH. Just a comment and an observation.
So, I mean, I guess we can't sit in on any meeting?
No, I'm not saying, I'm.
Rebecca's on.
Rebecca, give us a quick up on that.
Observation, that's that.
You threw it out there. Now Rebecca's gonna have to respond.
Linda, quickly, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
I have an 11 o'clock hard stop. I highly encourage you to cut off public comments. It is not on the agenda. This is exactly why Mr. Elwood.
Yeah, I know all that and I'm doing it out of courtesy. So you can go, we don't need it right now, so.
Okay, I do need to hop off, and I also just wanted to let everyone know that I did speak with Larry Konopecki, who is legal counsel for WTA, just to get his insight on this, and I'm not sure that WTA as an organization as a whole is roped into what is happening. So just something for all of you to consider as you move forward in these discussions, and then let me know if I can be of assistance, because WCA works with WTA all the time.
All right, go ahead, Linda, quickly.
I think to clarify Ms. Roker's comment is that letter was on behalf of the Sawyer County unit, not on behalf of all of the WTA.
I heard that, Linda, but it also says the Sawyer County unit of WTA. So it specifically references the Wisconsin Towns Association.
Mr. Buckholz, my comment was regard to following up with what happened just now at the town of Sand Lake. None of the room full of people that were here tonight, or this morning, I keep saying, because I keep thinking back to that meeting, none of the people that were here this morning were at that town board meeting or plan commission meeting. I highly believe that had the plan commission and the town board heard everything that you heard this morning, the town board's decision would have been different. There were no facts to deal with. And again, it gets to what are the towns being provided from the county? And in this case, I would argue that there was not sufficient information and that you relied on the town, which did not have sufficient information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any more, new business that may come before this committee for discussion? If not, thank you, everybody. We're adjourned.
Andy.